Ahlan wa sahlan. Bonjour. Buongiorno. Buenos dias. Habari ecco. Swahili. You now all speak Swahili. How many of you here have Arabic as a first language? Salam alaikum. Sabah al khair. You guys are good. How many of you here have English as a first language? How many of you here have Polish as a first language? How many of you here have Inuit, the language of the Eskimos, as a first language? So you're my little Eskimos. Anybody in a multicolored shirt with white sleeves is an Eskimo. Do you know why you are here? Right, I will tell you. First of all, this is the Abu Dhabi International Book Fair. Who would like to know what happens at a book fair? Good, I'm pleased that you're paying attention. You're my hero right now. A book fair is where the business of publishing gets done, where publishers talk to agents, agents talk to publishers, publishers talk to printers. So the physical book, the publishing industry is where the physical book that you read at school, that you read at home, gets made, gets produced, gets commissioned, an author gets paid to write it. That's the book fair out there. In these pink walls, this is not the book fair. We are an implant in the book fair, and we're like a little literary festival. Who would like to know what a literary festival is? A literary festival is where authors get to meet their audience. Now here, I need you to guess. Are you authors? Put your hands up if you think you're authors. Or are you audience? You're the audience, well done. So, how many of you here like to read stories or write stories or tell stories? And if anybody doesn't put their hand up, I'm going to make them sit up here and cry. Brilliant, that's right, so you all like stories. Now, here's the trick. How many of you like funny stories? Yeah, excellent. How many of you like to tell jokes? How many of you like to make people laugh? How many of you like to laugh? Brilliant, we are all in the right place. That is fantastic. Do you know what? You're so much my hero, I'm going to come and ask you your name. What is your name, madam?
It's Hannah. Hannah, yes.
Hannah. Hannah or Hannah? Oh, you know what? I used to know a lovely girl called Hannah, which is what that tattoo is. How nice to meet a Hannah. Now, one of you is an Eskimo. Which Eskimo wants to tell? I think you want to tell me your name, Mr. Eskimo.
Salim Abdullah.
No, I think that's his name. Your name is Mustafa. Right, one last thing. One last thing. Would all teachers stand up, please? All teachers that brought your children to this event here today. Children, pay attention, Eskimos. Each one of these people is an absolute legend, an absolute hero. They should be on Avengers Endgame. Do you know why? Because they are making your world, your brain, and your life a better place. They're making your world a better place, they're making your brain a better place to think with, and they brought you here. So would you please give your teachers a huge round of applause? Thank you, teachers, because you are the true heroes and heroines of any school's event. Thank you very much for bringing your children. So, I'm going to introduce you to a lady who lives here in the Emirates and who has created a fantastic career as a writer. And she's a very gifted writer. You will hear words at book festivals and literary festivals about authors and writers. It's the same thing. Author is just another word for a writer. An author is someone who has an idea and writes it down. Sometimes writers just write, they don't have ideas. But where this lady is very gifted is she is also a storyteller. And all good authors tell a story. And a good story has a beginning, middle, and end. And it does lots of interesting things around it. But the lady I'm about to introduce you to writes funny stories. So would you like to meet a very gifted author who writes funny stories, who has driven 1,000 miles to come to be with you here today? Would you like to do that? Oh, come on, I know you can do a lot better than that. Would you like to do that? Whoever said no, come and see me after class. So, When I introduce her, I would like you to stamp your feet, clap your hands, and cheer as loudly as you can, because about 100 yards that way, there is another stage of very loud children, and I want you to win and be louder than them. So can you make a huge noise, please, for Rachel Hamilton?
Hello. Now, we're going to keep Paul and his microphone, and he's going to lurk among you, because what I like... sorry, getting ahead of myself. What I like about doing these talks is when you talk too, okay? So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to get you to interact. Most of you have got a paper and a pencil. Hands up if you don't, just so I know. Okay, this is... Oh, don't worry, because you should be able to do some without, and that lovely lady over there is going to get you something. So, we're going to talk about how to write funny. Because I saw you put your hands up about liking funny books. I actually saw some teachers didn't, so I'll be keeping an eye on you. Because they're the best books. They're the most enjoyable books. They're actually sometimes the hardest to write, because it can be difficult to write funny. And I wanted to start by asking you, here's Paul, have you got your microphone still? What books...
I'm here ready and waiting for you, Rachel.
Excellent. What books and authors make you laugh? Hands up if you've got a favourite book or a favourite author that you find funny. Brilliant. Yeah. Let's make him run around. Come from
Jeff
other
Kinney.
side. Which Jeff Kinney? Yes, Wimpy Kid. He's marvellous.
Wimpy Kid.
Another Wimpy Kid fan. We've got someone over here. He's being
Tinkle.
lazy and staying this side.
Tinkle.
Oh,
Geronimo Stilton.
Tell Rachel, not me.
Geronimo Stilton.
Geronimo Stilton. Yes, he's great, isn't he?
Dog Diaries.
Dork Diaries, yes.
Okay.
There's another one here. Well, let's have a last one.
Sunny Side Up.
Oh, okay, good.
Brilliant.
You know I'm 150 years old. I can't do that much running around.
We're going to have to send you to each side. Okay, so, bit of a warm-up. I just wanted you to have a think about the reasons why. I think we've got a different presentation. Never mind. Write down as many benefits of humour as you can think of. If you can come up with 4 or 5, I'm just going to walk down here for a second.
While you do that, sort out the AV, and you want them to write down as many different... What's the challenge?
Why is it good to be funny?
Okay, so 5 reasons why it's good to be funny, how being funny makes you feel, how hearing funny makes you feel. Do you write it down on the paper? What? What? Why stories are funny? Why stories are funny?
No, it was she bought some.
Good morning, gentlemen. Take your seats quickly and quietly, please, and we'll organize you some paper and pencils. Would you like to come and join us? So 5 reasons why what funny means, why stories are funny, how funny makes you feel. Yes, madam, how can I help you? We don't have a pencil. Do we have any more writing implements? If we have some more pencils, that would be great. We'll see if we can find you some pencils. Would you like to share my pen until we find you some pencils? You don't have to give it back, it's broken, but that might help a little. Is that pencils? What is this? Oh, fantastic. Are we distributing to everybody? Yes. Okay. Who would like, who hasn't got a pencil case and a pencil? Who hasn't had a pencil case? Here we go. Some guys over here. The ladies at the back in the hijabs would be first. Can you just give me 4? 2, 4. Thank you very much indeed. Here we go. Yours to keep. Oh, is there other 2 there? Could you pass one to your friend? 1 each. Thank you. Gentlemen, who hasn't had a pencil case? Here we go. We'll get some more coming out to you shortly. Don't forget you're meant to be writing things down for those of you that do have pencils and papers. Do you have a question, sir? Yes, there are more coming. Here we go. Chuck, are you happy to do that? Because then you know where you are. Thank you, Daisy.
Okay.
Why didn't we should have put them on the chairs to begin with, shouldn't
Can
we?
I have a quick round of applause for Paul for
No,
diving
not
in?
yet. We'll do that at the end.
Sometimes the funniest things are when things go wrong. So I've just been running around trying to sort things out, but all is good. Okay, I would love to hear, I can carry this for now if you like. I would love to hear somebody's answer. Why is it good to be funny?
Because it helps people to smile.
It makes people smile. What a lovely answer. Yes.
It relieves your stress.
It relieves your stress. Brilliant.
It makes us laugh.
It makes us laugh. It does. Did you have your hand up? You're just itching. Oh,
It gives me good thoughts.
yes. It gives
Me good thoughts.
gives you good thoughts. Yes. There are so many reasons why it's good to be funny. Sometimes, if you have a difficult message to present and you make it funny, people will listen and people will remember. And everybody, come along, sit down, get comfortable. Okay, grab a seat. So, funny is all about character. If you think about the books that you mentioned, Wimpy Kid, Geronimo Stilton, it's all about a funny character. It's not just about jokes, because they can fall flat. Comedy is one of those things that can disappear when you're not looking. So you've got to think of a character and a funny situation to put them in. Now then, do people recognize these guys? Can you give me a shout out? Who's that? Loki! Mr. Bean! I heard a Bugs Bunny from somewhere. Bugs Bunny! Yep, this lady. Phoebe!
When you say them, you shout.
It's Will Smith and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Anyone know this one? Matilda! Sheldon from The Big Bang. Homer Simpson! Homer! So, I would like you to pick one character, write down 3 words that describe them, tell me why they're funny, and think of a funny place to put them. So, 1 character, pick anybody, 3 adjectives, why they're funny,
Daisy.
and a funny place to put them. Okay?
Very well, sir. How are you? Here we go, chaps. Something to write with. So you're picking 1 character from the board, up the screen up there, and you're going to give 3 adjectives.
Brilliant.
What's an adjective? A describing word. So 3 describing
Okay.
words, 3 adjectives of why you think they're funny.
If anybody is not sure, you carry on writing, and I will give you an example. So say I picked Thor from the Avengers. I think Thor is funny, 3 adjectives. He's over-enthusiastic, he's destructive, and he's brave. And why he's funny, he thinks that he's the god of thunder, the lord of all. But actually he's a bit like a big puppy. He kind of barrels into things, and things go wrong, and people tease him. He tries to calm the Hulk down, and it doesn't work. And so Thor is a funny character. If anybody saw Thor Ragnarok, a funny place to put him was in the arena with Hulk. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. So if you guys, 3 adjectives, why they're funny, and a funny place to put them. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Don't worry if you haven't written it down, it can be in your head. Okay?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.5, 3, 2,
1, right.
and
Who's
stop.
got a brilliant answer? Let's go to the front here.
So I choose Mr. Bean. I like him because his comedies are so good. Like 3 adjectives about him are: he's crazy, funny, and innocent.
Brilliant.
Crazy, funny, and
I
innocent.
like it. Let's have someone else. Not Mr. Bean. Somebody other than Mr. Bean. Not Mr. Bean. Okay, so who have you got?
Will Smith.
Will Smith, brilliant.
He's funny.
Yep.
Awesome.
Awesome.
2 is okay.
And silly.
Yes, good. Let's have another person, not Mr. Bean, not Will Smith.
Who have you chosen? Loki. Loki's good.
Loki, brilliant.
He just looks weird in general.
With his horns.
Yeah. He's mischievous. One last thing, he's Thor's brother.
He is Thor's brother. Right, we'll go to 2 more people, and I want you to tell me where you would put your character that would make it even funnier. If we go to this side.
So, you've chosen your funny character. Now you need to put them in. Rachel's saying you need to
Where
put
would
them into
they
a
go?
funny
A
situation.
funny place.
So you chose Mr. Bean. Where would you put Mr. Bean? Where's the funny place you'd put him in your story?
I'll put him in a hotel, like in one episode, he's locked in a room, and that's the best one.
Lock
Locked in
him
a room in a hotel.
So he has
I
to
can't
try and,
idea.
you have to try and get
Which
out.
character did you choose,
Yes.
madam?
Mr. Bean, if we put him somewhere in a beach and no one is there, then he'll get mysterious and he'll panic.
Mr. Bean on a beach.
You want to make him panic because he's got to get
Panicking,
into
nobody
his
else there.
swimming clothes. I
Now,
like it.
Eskimo boys, none of you have come up with an answer yet. Let's see, who chose, did anybody here choose Homer Simpson? Okay, where would you put Homer Simpson in a funny situation?
House.
Homer Simpson's house. You're
In
not
his own
thinking hard
house.
enough.
Okay.
Right, here we go. One more, Rachel. Would you like one more? Which funny character did you choose?
Homer Simpson.
Okay, where would you put Homer Simpson?
With the Family Guy.
You put him in another episode.
another
I
episode,
like
Family
it.
Guy.
Sometimes if you mix it with new characters, it works. Brilliant. So I'm going to
We'll come
give
to you
you
later.
a few tips and tricks if you want to write funny stories. The first one is the art of the unexpected. What you have to do is don't go for the easy laugh. Surprise people. So if you've got a character and there's a banana skin there, it would be quite funny if I fell over the banana skin and fell off the stage. But it would be more funny if I didn't fall over the banana skin and everyone went, ah, and then I fell down a big hole. So you've got to try and get the unexpected. And I've got an example from Thor. Can we play the video with the volume up quite loud?
We really need volume, please, sound
Volume.
guys.
Didn't see that, did you? Yeah, that's ooh, that's better.
You know, go ahead. Stay here and enslave people for that lunatic. Keep drinking, keep hiding. But me, I choose to run toward my problems and not away from them.
That's what.
Because that's what heroes do.
Okay, so Thor is the big hero. We expect Thor to save everybody, rescue everybody, be the big lord. You think he's going to leap out of the window, but no, the ball doesn't smash it the first time. It comes back and it hits him. So that's what I mean by the art of the unexpected. It's easier to do in films than in stories. But this is one story that makes me laugh. It's from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And he goes, "You know," said Arthur, "it's at times like this when I'm trapped in a Vogon airlock with a man from Betelgeuse and about to die of asphyxiation in deep space that I really wish I'd listened to what my mother told me when I was young." Why? What did she tell you? I don't know, I didn't listen. So you're expecting to get this great piece of advice, but instead you just discover he has no idea what he's supposed to do because he didn't hear his mum. And if you look at jokes, if anybody tries to write a joke, that's the standard format of a joke. You start off, you mislead people with a kind of fake story so they think they know what's coming. So Thor, you get misled because you think he's going to smash the window and go out. But then the second part shatters that first story and changes it and makes a funny story. So in terms of jokes, I want you to try and come up with a joke. You can talk to your friends, you can come up with an Eskimo joke together, whatever you like, but I want you to use this structure. You have a setup. The orchestra played Mozart last night. Mozart lost, so it wasn't an orchestral piece, it was a football game. I was raised as an only child, which really annoyed my sister. I was playing chess with my friend and he said, let's make this interesting. So we stopped playing chess. So can everybody either, if you know a joke already and it works like this, that's great, or try and come up with a joke that uses this format. You can talk to each other and I'll give you a couple of minutes to try and come up with a joke. See if we can come up with any good ones. Also, you can remember an existing joke. That's also fine.
So guys, 2 minutes to make a joke where there is a setup and then the punchline, which is a misdirection. You know the one where the Martian
when
is
it's-
landing and he's like this high, you think he's huge. Nothing. You're doing well. They're good. They might
good
be a little young to make you knowing jokes, some of them, but
Yes, I know. That's why I'll do it quite quickly. Okay, about 30 more seconds. Don't worry if you haven't come up with one. Talk to the person next to you, see what you can think of. This is a hard thing to do, so it'll be brilliant if you come up with some. Okay, 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Has anybody got a... Oh, brilliant! Hands have shot up. This is always the scary bit where I think no one will put their hand up.
this young lady had a
Amazing.
joke right from the get-go, so I'm intrigued to
Okay.
see. Are you ready, madam? It's your big moment.
Actually, do you want to come up and tell your joke on the stage?
Come on.
Can I have you come forward? Yes. And you come forward? And you want to come forward? Yes, with the red top on. If we have you four. We might hear some at the end if we've got time. Okay, go. As loud as you can, because it's very noisy out there. Go.
So, there was one boy. The teacher asked that, did you do the homework? So the boy told yes, but he ate his homework.
He ate his homework.
Yeah.
I like
Because
it.
he told that, the teacher told that it was a piece of cake.
A piece of cake. I love it. So the teacher told him his homework was a piece of cake, so he ate his homework. Brilliant. Round of applause. Yes. You can go sit down.
Once, 3 aliens came on Earth. One went to the football ground, one went to school, and one to the restaurant. The alien who went to the football ground, everybody cheered and said, yay, and like goal. And so the alien copied them and said, goal, yay. The one in the restaurant said, one man said, with a fork and a knife. So the alien also copied the man and said, with a fork and a knife. In the school, when one teacher asked a question, everybody raised their hand to say the answer. And so the alien copied and raised the hand, and so said, me, like, I want to answer. Then they all gathered on one place and killed one man. Then when the police arrived and asked the questions, like, who killed the man? So the one who went to school said, me. Then the policeman asked, how did you kill it? So the alien who went to the restaurant said, with a fork and a knife. And when the police asked, you all are going to jail? So the alien who went to the football ground started shouting, yay, goal.
I like it. So, round of applause. Thank you.
There was a girl, his uncle said that your hair is like a smashed egg.
Say again.
Smashed egg.
Smashed egg. There was a girl and...
There was a girl and her Uncle said that your hair is like a
Her
smashed
hair is like
head.
a smashed egg. I like round of applause. Go.
I asked myself, does a person age every 4 years if they're born on the extra day in leap year? Because I celebrated my birthday 3 years ago and I still am not like 12 years old.
Leap year birthday. Leap year birthday joke. I like it. Round of applause. Go. Oh,
My friend wanted to play a board game, so we sat down some more.
nice. Joke on the word, but round of applause. Friend wanted to play a board game, so they sat down and did nothing. Go on.
My mom tried to go inside the house, but she can't fit inside it.
Your mum? They heard you. Yay. Thank you. Okay. Now, there are particular letters that have an ability to make writing more interesting. Have any of you thought about the different sounds that letters make? Because I'm going to talk about a few, and you can think about this when you're reading and writing. F, the letter F, sounds kind of airy and fluffy. So there's a wonderful John Agard poem where he talks about a flag fluttering unfurled. The letter B and P and D explode from your mouth. So there's a poem where it talks about Belfast and Beirut and Phnom Penh. And because the words explode, you get the sense of explosions in the poem. S is kind of hissy like a snake. So if you talk about things being sinister, then you get that evil atmosphere. Or they can be very sweet and soft. L letters can be really kind of relaxing. Love lies bleeding. But the funny letter, often people say, is the letter K. And there's a scene in The Simpsons where Krusty the Clown can't speak. And the writers of The Simpsons make a kind of outside joke that it's because his mouth is too full of the letter K. And so I want you to have a think about, and this is one of the funny jokes, apparently. 2 ducks sitting in a pond. One duck says quack, the other duck says, I was going to say that. I want you to think of the funniest K word. You've got 10 seconds. Who can give me a really funny K word? Okay, who's got a funny K word? Anybody? Yes.
There was a boy. He asked to his friend.
Oh, sorry, just the letter K, a word with a K in it.
A funny K word, not a story. So a funny word beginning with K? No?
No worries, we can come back.
We're looking for one funny word beginning with K, the letter K. Yes? Because K's a funny letter.
Crazy.
Crazy. Somebody over here said something.
A funny K word. Come on, let's
Yes?
go, children.
Car park. Karma, funnier than car park. Kid. Kid is funny.
Kangaroo.
Kangaroo. Abracadabra is another one. When I was young...
Coco.
Coco?
Custard.
Custard. When I was a kid, my guinea pig died, and it was really sad. And I said to my dad, what was wrong with the guinea pig? And he said the guinea pig died of collywobbles. And it was really sad that the guinea pig was dead, but that word was kind of funny. Also, when you're writing a story, be careful not to use generic words. So you could write, his biggest fear about going on safari was being eaten by a wild animal. But that's not that exciting, is it? Who can give me a better word for eaten? Anyone think of a more exciting word for eaten? You can yell it out and I'll see if I can hear. Oh, we've got
Swallowed.
swallowed, gobbled, devoured, all brilliant.
Munched.
Munched, nice. Now can we move on? Who can give me a better, more specific word for wild animal? Not just any wild animal. What could have devoured, gobbled, munched?
By a
Goblin.
goblin.
A goblin. That would be an interesting
It's a
thing
wild
to
animal.
find on a safari. What else could have gobbled, swallowed, devoured,
He was
and
munched,
him?
gobbled, devoured by a
Hyena.
A hyena. Nice.
He
Let's
was
go on.
gobbled, munched, swallowed, devoured, toothed to.
Eagle.
By an
eagle.
eagle.
By a lion.
By a lion. All much better.
By a omnivorous.
Good stuff.
By a omnivorous. Bear.
Okay, next one.
A kangaroo.
She was, oh, sorry. She was worried she would get run over by an oncoming vehicle. What's better than run over? She was worried she would get
Squashed.
squashed. She was worried she would get
Crushed.
crushed, steamrolled. Brilliant from over here.
Rolled over.
Smashed.
Smashed. Okay.
Trampled.
And what else? What could she be run over by? Not just an oncoming vehicle.
She was trampled,
Run
squashed, run over by.
A crazy elephant.
A crazy elephant.
Crazy elephant.
Truck.
A truck.
Dangerous animal.
By a dangerous animal.
Jason.
Somebody with a what? Go and tell us.
She was run over by a 1,000-ton
A
snake.
mechanical beast.
She was run over by a horde of animals.
By a herd of animals. I like it. Okay, we'll go quickly through this one. There's also, in fact, we'll talk very quickly about this. I just want to get to do a bit of extra stuff. You can use comparisons. How many people have done like similes and metaphors at school? Quite a few of you. So rather than just saying she is pale, you could say she has chalky white skin that makes her look like she is counting the hours before returning to the undead. Also, the power of three. You often have lists with 3 things in when you're trying to write something funny in a story. Like 1, 2, banana. The first 2 make sense. The last one's a bit crazy. So you've got losing weight is simple. Eat less, exercise more, and pay NASA to let you live in an anti-gravity chamber. The common cold has a number of different symptoms. A blocked nose, a sore throat, and a load of whining. Or Scott looked at his team of staff, all under 25, all in white jeans and corporate caps, all desperate to be somewhere else. So, can you think of your own 3 descriptions? If you had a character, so whoever you chose, if you chose Loki, you could come up with a description. Loki is tall and dark with weird horns growing out of his head, something like that. So the first 2 are very normal, and the third one is a bit crazy. Miss Dursley from Harry Potter was thin and blonde and had nearly twice the usual amount of neck, which came in useful as she spent so much time peering over garden fences at her neighbours. So can we have a quick go at this list of 3? 1, 2, 3. Very quickly. We'll do this for about 1 minute.
So something on the lines of Homer Simpson is a father and husband and more yellow than you would expect.
Perfect. Yes, we've got one over here. We'll hear 2 marvelous answers. Yes.
Loki is a bit crazy because he gave the Power Stone to Thanos and then tried to stab him.
Okay, we've got 3. So you could say Loki is crazy. Loki gave the Power Stone to Thanos, but then he tried to stab him. So the last one is the crazy bit. Okay,
Who's got a good power of 3? Here we go, lady here.
Trap from Geronimo Stilton is smart, full of ideas, but he's silly.
Yes, if you could push the silly a bit further. So he's smart, he's full of ideas, but every idea goes wrong, or something like that. Do you see how you make the third one a little bit funny, but very good try.
You have a rule of 3? Here we go.
Star-Lord is smart, strong, but yet he's still... no.
Doing well. Try and remember the last one.
He's smart and strong, but still...
to stop the Avengers from taking out Thanos' glove.
Okay. Yes.
We have a lady over here. Do you want one more?
We can have one more over there, yes.
And it is you.
What if Mr. Bean's skin is yellow and his face was brownish? So he will just like trying to scratch it off like a dog.
Okay, well, that's almost like a short story, but well done. Let's move on.
Okay, what I think we'll do, because I'd like you to have the chance to ask some questions. So can I invite Paul onto the stage? Because he can help answer as well. Paul's written some funny poems and funny stories. So, because I'm getting the sense that some people don't want to do any more activities, and sometimes it's nice to just chat. So if you've got any questions, we'll whiz through.
I've got a joke, a clean joke that tells
can
itself
tell a
at the
clean
end.
joke.
Would you like to hear a joke so you get guys a little relaxed? I don't know how good your English, idiomatic English is, but we'll give it a try. So, Mummy Balloon and Daddy Balloon, you know balloons that you blow up? Mummy Balloon and Daddy Balloon have a little baby, Baby Balloon. And Baby Balloon sleeps in a big bed with Mummy Balloon and Daddy Balloon. But as Baby Balloon gets bigger and bigger, there's not enough room. So one night, Baby Balloon sneaks out and lets a little bit of air out of Daddy Balloon, lets a little bit of air out of Mummy Balloon, gets back into bed, and there's more room. In the morning, Daddy Balloon wakes up, sees what happens, wakes up Baby Balloon and says, "What have you done? You've not only let me down..." It's a grown-up joke.
So
You've let your mother down and you've let yourself down. And this is the end of the joke that tells itself.
Ba-boom. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask, either about writing, about what it's like to be an author, about how to write funny, anything you like? Anybody got any questions? Yes, can we?
Here I go. You're on.
How much does an author spend daily?
How much time writing?
No,
or money?
Money.
Oh, it's different because your books are written at different times. So unlike other jobs where you can have a set amount of pay that comes in every day, you never know. You'll have 3 books out one year, no books out the next year. So it's very hard to give an amount. And also different books make a different amount of money. So somebody like J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter, is making millions every day. But the average author is probably earning more like a teacher might make every day. So it depends. It completely depends. Any other questions?
Well, here's an answer. For my first book, 20 years ago, I got paid £250,000 to write it. For my last book, I got paid £1,000. You never know. Madam.
That's how the world goes.
Do people always see your stories?
Do people always
Read your stories?
read them? Always. I think people should always have to read my stories, yes. I don't know. Sometimes people might want to read my stories. Sometimes they might want to read somebody else's stories. But I like to see people reading my stories. It's nice.
I have a question from the Eskimo children.
Go.
What books did you write?
What books did I write? I have written a book called The Case of the Exploding Loo. This was my first book. And what happens in this book, has everyone heard of a portaloo? Like a plastic portable toilet? Yeah? So the book begins with a portable toilet exploding. And all that's left in there is a pair of shoes. So everyone thinks, what happened to the person who was in the shoes in the toilet? So there's a big hunt to find out what happened to the man with the shoes. And interestingly, this is a strange kind of man because it turns out that he's written his name in his shoes. Now, hands up if your mum and dad have written your name in your school shoes. Maybe quite a few. But as an adult, it's a bit weird to write your name in your shoes. So we find out a bit more about what happened. So that's that story. And there's a series, there's other books. And then my second series was all about a unicorn who wanted to be famous and went to New York and had various accidents and disasters. So they're the books that I've written. Yes. Oh, yes.
We've got a question here.
How long does it take to write your books?
It
Good question.
completely depends on the book. This book took a long time because I was planning the whole universe, who was in it, what was happening. So this book probably took about a year, which is a really long time. But then with this series, by the time I'd written the first 3 books in the series, the 4th book only took 3 months because I knew who everyone was and what I wanted to happen. And when I say 3 months, I don't write all day, every day. I write for a bit, I eat cake for a bit, I watch telly for a bit, I come and talk to people in Abu Dhabi for a bit. So it depends on the book. I know somebody who has been working on their same book for 10 years. So they're not going to be making a lot of money every day.
Question over here, Rachel.
A question over here.
What books have you made?
Oh, no, you're here to see Rachel, not me.
You can answer, Paul.
I'm just Rachel's helper. I've written some grown-up books. There are two sorts of grown-up books. There's fiction, which is stories which are made up, and there's non-fiction, which is fact. And I've written 2 novels, fictions, and 2 non-fictions. There we go. Thank you. Does anybody have a question for Rachel, who is our guest of honor? Look at this very keen school over here. I'm coming over here. There's a forest of hands. Make it a good question.
How many books did you make?
How many books do I read? I read so many books, partly because I love books, partly because every month I talk on the radio about books, partly because I'm in a book club that talks about books. So I think I read maybe 6 books a week, 1 book a day, but sometimes I have audio books, and sometimes they're nice and short. But yeah, a lot of books, a lot of books.
Sure, if anybody is interested in writing stories or perhaps being a writer later on, the best advice you could give somebody who wants to write as an adult would be, Rachel?
Read.
Read.
First of all, you're a
read,
reader,
read.
and then you're a writer. Absolutely.
What was the age when you started writing a story?
Not these, do you mean generally?
How old were you when you started writing?
When I first started writing, I was really small, and it was because I was a little bit stupid when I was young. So do you remember being taught how to make letters, like letter A and B and C? When I was being taught how to make letters, I was in a classroom, and all around the edges, there were bookshelves. And there were gaps in the bookshelves. There were holes. There weren't enough books. So I thought, age 4, that I was being taught to write so I could write books to fill the gaps in the bookshelf. I wasn't very clever, but from that point on, I thought the only reason we learn letters is to write stories. So I've been writing stories since I was 4. They were really bad then. They were still bad when I was about 9, but a magazine published a story about my guinea pig when I was 9. And so I've been published since 9. But this book I wrote about 6 years ago. So I've been writing as a job for 6 years. Does that make sense?
A question here. A question here, madam.
What inspired you to write your books?
Does anyone else have a brain that's always full of ideas? So you're trying to do something normally and you can't because there are all these stupid ideas in your head. Does anyone else have that kind of brain? So what inspired me was I always had so many things in my head that I wanted to write them down on paper. So I don't know, does anyone have really disgusting things in their head? I had this memory of when I was 18 and I went to a music festival. And at the music festival, it was really muddy. And so they decided to clean up all the mud at the festival, but they didn't know how. And this is a true story from Glastonbury. And they said, I know how we can clean the mud up. We have a machine that sucks all the stuff out of the toilets at the festival, cleans the toilets. Why don't we send the toilet sucking machine to suck up all the mud in the dance tent? Seems like a good idea. The problem was, when they got to the dance tent to suck up the mud, the man operating the machine didn't press the suck up the mud button. He pressed the eject the mud button. So all the stuff from the toilets went over the people that were dancing at the festival. I wasn't in the tent, but my friends were. And when they came back and they told me the story and they were covered in the stuff from the toilets, I was 18, and about 15 years later, I wrote a story about an exploding toilet to get that idea out of my head. So my inspiration is weird things that happen, weird ideas that get in my head, and I just want to write them down and share them with people.
So there's an opportunity for someone to write a book now called The Pooiest Festival in the World.
Might sell. Yes, Glastonbury.
We have time for one last question. It's got to be a good one. I'm going to start with you. Make it good.
Why did you decide to be a writer?
Why did I decide to be a writer? When I was young, there were 3 things I wanted to be. I wanted to be an astronaut, I wanted to be a unicorn, and I wanted to be an author because I thought about all these books that needed to be written. I decided that I would be a rubbish astronaut because it took me 8 driving tests to drive a car, and I thought it's got to be a bit harder to drive the spaceship. I realized I couldn't be a unicorn because I'm a human, and so that's why I became an author. It just seemed like a really fun, interesting job to do, and it still is. Paul, did you say we have no more time for more questions?
We have time for a half a question.
Half
I'm just
a question.
establishing which
And
one
with
we're going
half
for.
an answer. We're picking the best half a question.
It's quite an interesting question here. Are you happy to answer it?
I'm happy to answer anything.
What is a life journey of an author?
What
What's
is the
the
life
life
journey
journey
of an
of an
author? What a fascinating question. I've never been asked that before. The life journey of an author is kind of desperately longing to write your book and get it out there, complete overexcitement when you see it on the shelf, nearly exploding with excitement when you see somebody reading it, and then you kind of sink down a little bit because you know you've got to write another one and there's all that work to do. In terms of what I do every day, then some days I just stay in my pajamas all day, put a packet of biscuits next to me and my laptop and just write and make myself laugh. Other days I go out to schools or festivals or do workshops. So it's a very varied life. If anybody wants to be an author, I highly recommend it.
May I impose upon your show to talk to the boys here?
You may.
Because I've discovered something about boys and reading, and I've been talking about it all week, and it seems to have hit a nerve. So boys, listening to me, girls, you read already. You probably see your mums reading, and if you don't, this is for you as well. So boys, do I have your attention, especially the Eskimo children over here? Do you think reading is cool? Put your hands up if you think that reading is cool. Okay, put your hands down. Put your hands up if you think that reading isn't cool. I'm talking to you guys. I did not think reading was cool when I was your age, and it took me a long time to work out why. It's because I never saw my dad reading a book, and I loved my dad. He was my hero. So, here's what I'm going to ask you to do when you go home this evening. If you have a father who you never see reading, if you've never seen your father pick up a book and read it, talk to your father and you say you would like to be a reader, but you'd like to do it with him. If your father used to tell you bedtime stories, you're probably from the family you don't need to do that. But if you're from a family where you've never seen your father read, can you do one thing for me this evening? When you go home, you talk to your father and you say, Father, I would like to read books, but I don't feel it's manly. I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's masculine. So can you help me to read books, and we'll do it together because we are men and I need your help. Will you do that for me? Thank you. Would you do that for me, boys, on this row? Brilliant, because like that, we can slowly change the world, because books have all the information that we need as boys and men to make us as cool and as bright and as brilliant. We don't get gifted that anymore. We have to work for it, and all the information's in books. Ladies, I'm sorry this conversation wasn't for you, but it's equally appropriate. If you come from a family where your father or your mother does not pick up a book, it's exactly the same message. If you get your parents reading, we can help our parents to read, our parents can help us to read. Are we all in this together?
Yes.
Thank you. Rachel, are we done? Are you happy? Have you had a nice time? Are you pleased to have a pencil case? Enjoy the rest of your day, and please give a huge round of applause to Rachel Hamilton! Rachel has some books for sale out here. If you want to come and have a chat with her, come and pick up a book, buy a book, get her to sign it, and she'll answer questions if you weren't perhaps brave enough or couldn't think of a question while she was on stage. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, teachers.